Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. You know, food, something we obviously all interact with every day. But today, we're not going to be talking about recipes or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to be kind of doing a deep dive into all kinds of different sources
Yeah,
and looking at how food connects to, bigger ideas like culture and even our feelings.
absolutely. And I think we're going to uncover some pretty surprising stuff as we go.
I think so too. And we're going to start with something pretty simple and familiar. The apple, we've all heard that saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Right.
But is there actually any truth to that?
You know, there is actually one of our sources, a BBC article,
Okay.
points out that apple skins are packed with these things called flavonoids,
Oh,
which are powerful antioxidants.
Okay, so antioxidants, what do those actually do?
Well, they protect our cells from damage caused by these things called free radicals.
Okay.
And free radicals are basically these little troublemakers that can kind of wreak havoc in our
Mm.
bodies. And that can lead to inflammation and even, chronic diseases.
Yeah.
So flavonoids, they come in and they neutralize those troublemakers
Okay.
and help to keep us healthy.
So basically, those apple skins are really doing us a big favor.
They are. We shouldn't be peeling them?
Maybe not. So it sounds like they're kind of a superpower.
Yeah. And beyond antioxidants, flavonoids have been linked to a whole range of benefits.
Oh, wow.
Things like lower blood pressure,
Really?
improve brain function. There's even some evidence that regularly eating apples
Okay.
could help reduce the risk of certain types of cancer.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
It is.
I'm sold on apples now.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the versatility of apples.
What?
One of our sources, a segment from the BBC featuring Dr. Michael Mosley,
Okay.
he talks about how he enjoys apples in all sorts of ways, sliced into yogurt, grated into porridge. He even bakes them into a crumble.
Okay, now I have to admit, my weakness is apple crumble with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. But now I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't feel so guilty about indulging.
It's all about balance, right?
Mm.
Even with that added sweetness, you've still got those flavonoids in the apple working their magic.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the humble apple.
Yes.
Let's move on to something a bit more adventurous. Hybrid vegetables.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard of something called blue sky breeding?
I have. It's essentially the process of crossing different plant varieties to create entirely new vegetables.
Okay.
So imagine a world where kale and Brussels sprouts join forces.
Hold on, kale and Brussels sprouts together. That sounds interesting.
It might sound unusual, but it's a real thing.
Really?
They're called colettes, and they're surprisingly delicious.
Hi.
It's kind of like a sweeter, nuttier version of kale.
Wow, so it's not just about creating these strange-sounding combinations.
Right.
They're actually enhancing the flavors and creating something totally new.
Exactly. And colettes are just one example. We're seeing a whole wave of innovative hybrid vegetables hitting the market.
Oh, wow. But what?
Things like cauliflowers, which are tiny little cauliflowers on a stem,
Okay.
and cotton candy grapes that actually taste like caramel.
Wow. Those breeders are getting creative.
They are.
What will they come up with next?
It really is fascinating to think about the possibilities. These hybrids aren't just a novelty.
Right.
They're adding these exciting new flavors and colors and textures to our plate.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of flavors, have you ever wondered who is behind those incredible tastes we experience in processed foods?
Yes.
I mean, those masterminds of taste, the flavorists.
The flavorists.
Yes.
These are the scientists who create those oh-so-addictive flavors we find in everything from chips to candy to soda.
Wow.
And it's really a blend of science and artistry.
Okay.
They need this deep understanding of chemistry,
Uh-huh.
but they also have to have this really keen sense of taste.
So they're like culinary alchemists transforming ordinary ingredients into these extraordinary taste sensations.
That's a great way to put it.
And their history is just as intriguing as their work, right?
Yeah, back in the 19th century, flavor creation was a closely guarded secret sheathings. Recipes were passed down through families like precious heirlooms.
Oh, so it's like a secret society of flavor wizards.
Kind of.
But how did this dark art evolve into the massive industry that it is today?
Well, after World War II, with the rise of processed foods, the demand for flavorings just exploded. And it became this science-driven industry, with flavorists using their knowledge of chemistry to manipulate taste receptors and create specific flavor profiles.
So they're not just mixing ingredients together, they're actually engineering flavors at a molecular level.
Precisely. And it's not just about replicating natural flavors either.
Oh, really?
They're also creating entirely new flavors.
Wow.
Take, for example, the famous British chef Heston Blumenthal. He's known for these really unconventional flavor pairings,
Okay.
like white chocolate and caviar.
White chocolate and caviar. That's a combination that could go either way.
It could. It definitely pushes the boundaries of taste. But that's what's so exciting about the world of flavorists. They're constantly experimenting and innovating and surprising us with these new and unexpected flavor experiences.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, it's amazing how something as seemingly simple as flavor can involve so much science and creativity.
It really is. And it really is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And speaking of amazing, it's time to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that might surprise you, the connection between food and our mood.
Yeah, this is a fascinating area of research that's gaining more and more attention. For years, the medical community really overlooked the role of nutrition in mental health, but thankfully that's starting to change.
Yeah, one of our sources mentions this groundbreaking study known as the SMILE trial, led by Professor Felice Jacka, a pioneer in nutritional psychiatry.
Right.
And it really focused on the impact of diet on people experiencing depression.
Yeah, Professor Jacka's research really challenged conventional thinking at the time. A lot of doctors were skeptical of her ideas, but she persevered, and the SMILE trial's findings were quite remarkable.
So what did they find?
Well, the study showed that a healthy diet rich in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean protein actually led to significant improvements in mood and overall well-being for the participants.
That's pretty amazing.
It's a powerful reminder that what we eat doesn't just fuel our bodies.
Right.
It also impacts how we feel, think, and even behave.
So next time we're feeling down or stressed, maybe reaching for a healthy snack is a better strategy than, going for that bag of chips or sugary treat.
Absolutely. It's about nourishing our brains as much as our bodies.
I like that. Okay, now I want to talk about something that seems like a total shift in gears. Buffets.
Buffets, they're interesting, aren't they? Because they really represent this unique intersection of food and culture.
Yeah, I have to say I definitely have this love-hate relationship with buffets.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the endless options are so tempting. But, sometimes I walk away feeling like I really overdid it.
Right. That's a common experience.
Yeah.
But have you ever stopped to think about where buffets actually originated?
I really haven't.
One of our sources dives into the history of this dining format.
Okay.
And it's really not what you might expect.
Okay. I'm all ears. Tell me, where did they come from?
Believe it or not, buffets are thought to have originated in Sweden, way back in the Middle Ages.
Sweden?
Yeah.
Wow, I would guess somewhere in Asia or the Middle East.
Right. It's a common misconception, but you're right. The modern buffet as we know it has evolved significantly since those early Scandinavian feasts.
Right.
Today, buffets are really a global phenomenon, offering this vast array of cuisines and dining experiences.
They really are. And speaking of variety, I have to ask, have you ever experienced the sheer extravagance of an Indian wedding buffet?
I haven't personally, but I have heard stories. They're legendary.
Oh, they are truly something to behold. It's not just about feeding the guests,
Right.
It's about creating this spectacle, this feast for the senses. And we came across this interview with a wedding caterer in India who actually described it as a vicious circle.
Oh.
Each family tries to outdo the last in terms of opulence and variety.
It's really a way to express generosity and hospitality, even
Yeah.
status.
It's this fascinating example of how food transcends its basic function of sustenance and becomes so intertwined with these cultural values and social dynamics.
It's fascinating, and it brings up an interesting question.
What's that?
How do our own food choices and eating habits reflect who we are and what we value?
That's a great point. It really makes you think about how food goes beyond just what's on our plates, right?
It does.
It's connected to so many aspects of our lives, our culture, our emotions, even our identity.
Absolutely. And speaking of connections, let's kind of zoom in a bit and talk about something a little closer to home.
Okay.
Our own kitchens, we've explored the science behind these flavors, the cultural significance of buffets, the impact of food on our mood.
Right.
But what about those everyday decisions we make about what to eat? How do we navigate this overwhelming world of food options and make choices that are both delicious and nutritious?
I mean, it really can feel overwhelming, right? It's like every time we turn around, there's a new diet fad or a superfood we're supposed to be incorporating into our lives.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's really hard to know where to even begin.
It is, and all the conflicting information out there doesn't make it any easier.
Right.
1 minute fat is the enemy, the next, it's all about carbs.
Exactly.
It's enough to make anyone just throw up their hands and say, forget it.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
So how do we cut through all the noise and figure out what actually works for us?
Hmm.
Is there some sort of magic formula for healthy eating?
There's really no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to nutrition. We're all unique individuals
Right.
with different bodies, different lifestyles, and different dietary needs.
So ditch the fad diets and focus on what works for us.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. But how do we even begin to figure that out? It still seems pretty daunting.
Well, it starts with becoming more aware of our own bodies and how they respond to different foods.
Okay.
What makes us feel energized, what leaves us feeling sluggish or bloated. Paying attention to those cues can be incredibly insightful.
So it's like tuning in to those internal signals and really listening to what our bodies are telling us.
It is. It's like becoming a detective for your own health.
I like that. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're detectives now.
we are.
Awesome. And it's not just about what we eat, but also how we eat.
That's right.
Are we scarfing down our meals in this rushed, distracted state?
Right.
Or are we actually taking the time to savor each bite to appreciate the flavors and the texture?
Exactly. It's about mindful eating.
Mindful eating. I like that concept.
Yeah, being present in the moment, not just mindlessly shoving food into our mouths.
Right.
And when we eat mindfully, we're more likely to make choices that truly nourish our bodies and satisfy our souls.
Yeah.
It's about creating this positive relationship with food, one that's based on enjoyment and awareness, not guilt or restriction.
I love that.
Yeah.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to just how multifaceted the world of food really is.
It is, isn't it?
We've gone from exploring the science behind those tiny little flavonoids in apple skins
Right.
to the cultural significance of those extravagant Indian wedding buffets.
Yes.
And we even talk about how the food we eat can impact our moods and mental well-being.
And it's amazing how all these seemingly disparate threads kind of weave together
Yeah.
to create this rich tapestry that is our relationship with food.
And that interconnectedness is what I find so fascinating about it.
Me too.
It's not just about calories or nutrients.
Uh.
It's about culture and history and science and emotions and so much more.
Absolutely. It really highlights how food is so much more than just fuel for our bodies.
Right.
It's the central part of our lives. It connects us to our families, our communities, and the world around us.
Well, to all our listeners out there, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to look at food in a new light. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those taste buds tingling.
And remember, there's no one right way to eat. It's about finding what works for you, honoring your individual needs, and most importantly, enjoying the journey.
Absolutely. Till next time, happy eating, everybody.